Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We got some more Terminator Dark Fate news for you. Oh, you're going to love this. You are going to love this interview. We've got Tim Miller, the director of Terminator Dark Fate. He's revealing some interesting snippets of information. Not only does he slam the rest of the franchise to a certain degree, we'll kind of get to that in a second, but he also goes on to reveal just some bits and pieces, right? Which I do genuinely find quite interesting. This is over on Total Film. This is a Total Film magazine interview that was done. This isn't over on Total Film, but it's taken from it. So let's get into it. Let's take a look. Oh, but just real quick before we get started, give this video a like and please do share it. And if you want to support the channel further, I've got some Terminator merch down below in the description box, so check it out. Right, so let's get into it, right? If I was just a fan standing outside all of this, I'd say Terminator 6. Why? Why the F are they making another one? Bold words, Mr. Miller. Bold words. Now this is what we could consider to be, well, look, it's marketing hype, isn't it? Whether we can say that this is damage control or not, I leave that up to you. But it's definitely marketing hype. It's kind of counter-programming because everyone's going to look at this and go, well, you're just contradicting yourself, you big douche. Because he previously came out and called most fans misogynistic arseholes and stuff like this. So we'll take a look and just see how he, trundles along with this train of thought. But it's definitely what I would say is a form of counter-programming. I wouldn't necessarily say it's damage control. Definitely counter-programming. It's quite smart, actually. Worryingly so. Now, Tim Miller, the director of the upcoming 6th Terminator movie, titled Terminator Dark Fate. The new movie will bypass every Terminator movie since T2 Judgment Day. So if you thought we're going to get new movies, it's going to tie it all in, awesome. No, it's not. You're wrong. Sorry. You've done been misled. It takes off directly after Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and that is it. Now, Tim Miller tactfully describes all of the other movies as misfires. Now, I will say, oh, no, that's not the slam part, right? That's part of it. But he goes on further to say, if we scroll down here, I think the brand has been tainted a little bit. Very interesting. Now, again, this is all on Total Film magazine. Now, I think the brand has been tainted a little bit, Miller admits. I don't want to disparage the work of any of those movies. Well, you can't, because Ellison, the guy who created Terminator Genisys, is also the producer and the core idea man on Terminator Dark Fate. A lot of people don't realise that. The same man who created and produced Terminator Genisys is the same guy who pitched this whole plot to James Cameron. Make of that what you will. I did have a discussion with someone on Twitter about this earlier, and they did say that Ellison is obviously hoping to make amends for Genisys. And I said to that chap over on Twitter, I said, well, great, and I hope he does, because I do. I don't want any movie to suck. It's a complete waste of time otherwise. But no one goes into any movie hoping to make a shit film, especially not as a producer. You go in there hoping to make the best bang for buck possible to get a huge profit. So he didn't go into Terminator Genisys thinking it would be bad, and he's not doing the same here. So again, his words we have to take with a massive pinch of salt because they don't really mean anything at this point in time. They don't mean anything. Him saying, I don't want to come in and taint the franchise any further. Well, you didn't really want to with Genisys, did you? So anyway, we continue, right? I don't want to disparage the work of any others of these movies, and some of them were interesting, but I feel like they just played in the world of the Terminator. It was essentially a different thing. T2 was just one of those events that was a effing revelation. It's one of those films that everyone remembers what they were doing when they first saw it. I still don't think I realise what I'm doing trying to follow that up. Interesting. Now, for those Terminator fans worried about how Dark Fate fits into the overly complicated timeline, fear not. There was the first movie, then there was the second movie, then after about 27 years, it's our movie, laughs one of the producers, Bonnie Curtis, consigning all 3 other sequels to a new alternate timeline. That no longer makes any sense. Judgment Day didn't happen in 1997, but it didn't happen in 2004 either. Skynet never became self-aware. The nuclear war didn't happen, and Sarah and John Connor were left to grow up in peace. However, that's not strictly true, because the leaks indicate that actually John Connor didn't grow up. Now, interestingly, when Miller came in to work on the movie, there was no script or even a plan. That's not true. We know that Ellison pitched a whole, like an idea to James Cameron. The director says, luckily though, there was one big name who quickly signed on, James Cameron. No one knows the franchise like Jim Cameron, Miller continues. He is one of the smartest guys you will ever meet. Just to be able to go to the source instead of constantly asking yourself, what would Jim do, was invaluable. And yeah, hopefully, James Cameron, although he never turned up on set, has given some great jumping off points. Hopefully, his additions to this film will make it at least good. Now, it continues and says, returning as producer after years of being less than complimentary about some of the other prequels, Cameron got involved in every step of the production to make sure that it picked up where he left off. That's, again, not strictly true. James Cameron had said some great stuff about Terminator Genesis. And then he since doubled back on it and said he was lying. Sydney Morning Herald, please give it a Google. You will see exactly what I mean. Now, Miller spoke at length with Total Film about his approach to Dark Fate, while Hamilton and Schwarzenegger touched on why they decided to return to the franchise. The new issue reaches store shelves on September 20th. We got Terminator Dark Fate landing October 23rd. It'll be interesting to see what they do with marketing pieces now. Whether we get more marketing, more trailers, more TV spots. Because this is, in part, 20th Century Fox, I believe, and then the rest of it, off the top of my head, might be Universal, but don't quote me on that. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do. What do you think? I think there's a lot of backtracking going on, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like I say, a lot of backtracking. You know, if I was just a fan standing outside of all of this, I'd say Terminator 6, why? And yet he's gone to do it anyway. We got comments. You know, we got comments about, I think the brand has been tainted a little bit. It does kind of give you some impression of how good he thinks the film is. So, we'll see. Because I believe, again, off the top of my head, he's only really done 2 movies. Deadpool and this, off the top of my head. He might have done another one in between. But his repertoire for films is very, very low. Now, obviously, the main selling point is that, you know, James Cameron was around, on hand, not on set, but on hand. Linda Hamilton is back, and so is Arnold Schwarzenegger. But again, some of this article is absolutely misled. Some bits and pieces here, because these are not quotes. You know, where they say specifically Skynet never became self-aware, the nuclear war didn't happen, and Sarah and John Connor were left to grow up in peace. That's not a quote. It's nothing that they've said. It's nothing that we have been told at all. In fact, what we do know is that Linda Hamilton is out for pure vengeance now. Why would you be out for vengeance? The death of someone, maybe? And we know that. We know that she's out for vengeance, confirmed by her. Because it was one of the main points of why she wanted to sign on. Because she thought it would be an interesting take on the character. But anyway, I thought I'd bring you this news because this is genuinely interesting. We're starting to get a little bit more snippets of information here and there. What do you think? Let me know down below in the comment section. Will you get this magazine, Total Film? Will you get this this issue of Total Film magazine? I'd love to hear it. Let me know down below. What do you think of all the comments? And do you think they're backtracking? Do you think it's marketing hype? Do you think it is a little bit of damage control? Let me know down below. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe, give this video a like and a share. As always, though, guys, I have been Mr. H. Take care.